You are listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us on bringjoyforward.com and join us in our community group on Facebook. We now take you to the episode. Thank you for joining us. Hello, and welcome to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. I am Shannon Dias with Imagine If Media, joined by Shannon Brown from Open Door Healing. And we thought we would talk to you today about recognizing the signs. What does that mean? What are we talking about? And we're going to take this kind of into a couple of different directions, but recognizing the signs being somebody is talking to you, somebody's trying to get you a message, maybe it be the universe, spiritual connection, whatever it is. Recognizing how those come in, what you're experiencing when they're happening, how you can maybe pay more attention to it, activate it a little bit more, dive into it a little bit more. So yeah, recognizing the signs and what do they look like, and it's different for everybody. So I thought I would just start a little bit by saying for myself, walking this grief journey, signs changed quite dramatically once I was walking in this realm. I think it kind of busts open that awareness and that connection to other and whatever you believe in from above and below and beyond. And I think it makes it more attuned, I guess, for those kind of things coming in. So I like to tell people, if you think you see something, you did, and just accept it. And the more you accept it, the more you'll recognize it, and the more they will kind of come at you. And they can come in various ways. So I thought I'd let Shannon kind of start out with some of the ways that they can come in and maybe the reasons for them coming in.
All right. Well, I have found in my experience that if something happened in threes, whether it be, I don't know, let's just say numbers. Let's just say I saw 1111 and then I saw it again and I saw it again. And it might have been once on a clock, and then maybe I saw it on a billboard. Maybe it was on a license plate or just some random thing, right? And so I just started paying attention. Okay, well, what does that mean? And so then I would look up what 1111 means. And I'm like, okay, let's pay attention to this energy that these numbers are bringing. I found recently I found that normally it only takes 2 times for the universe to tap on me. Although it took my brother sending me several real scorpions from beyond. They were real scorpions, but he's in the beyond, to get my attention, to say he was ready to converse with me and to help me on my healing journey, and also help him continue his healing journey. Even though he's passed on, he is still doing some really deep healing, and he's more open to letting me help him. Another thing is if something just comes out of the blue. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had a Facebook friend, and actually she's a friend. I know her personally, where a lot of my Facebook friends, I only know them through Facebook. But anyway, she messaged me a link to this herbal online program. She doesn't ever comment on any of my stuff usually, or whatever. And so it was just really weird. And I looked at it and it was on sale. And as Shannon knows, and probably most of you, if you've been listening to podcasts, I have a gazillion courses that I have signed up for, and I am really trying to get through them. And I thought, I don't really need another course, but I've always been interested in herbs and the properties and how to use them, because I grow them, but I don't use them, right? And so I'm like, no, I'm going to go ahead and sign up for this course. So again, that was just out of the blue. That was just, if Shannon had sent it to me, or my friend, or somebody that I converse with all the time, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's great, but I don't need another course. But to me, the universe was tapping on my shoulder saying, you are ready to ingest this information now. Whereas before, maybe I wouldn't have carried through on it. So I did sign up for the
And
course, and I'm, just doing a little, and I'm not rushing through it. The lady was like, you can do this in 3 days or 3 months, however you want to get certified. So I'm just doing one little snippet every day so that it will sink in. So again, that's another way that the universe, it can be just like something just that totally like, what, why, and then of course nowadays you're just like, oh, first, why is this person messaging me? They've never messaged me before. So you're like, did they get hacked? But nobody's gonna hack you an online course for herbs, right? I don't
yeah,
know. The universe,
and,
I guess, has hacked it, right?
yeah. And it's interesting to that, like, it for you, it needs to be like something different and unusual for it to bring it to your attention. Whereas someone else, it might be that they need for it to come from a source that makes sense in order for it to be something, that hits home with them. So maybe it is, if it's someone else, maybe that course being mentioned by a friend or family member who doesn't normally talk about herbs, maybe that would be, something. I think the thing to note is that there's a part of you that knows that this is coming in for a reason, but you don't necessarily know what that reason is. I also think it's important to note that we all have different belief systems, and yours is yours. So whatever is valid for you, whatever is coming through for you, that's your truth. So sometimes it's just a matter of you seeing what's coming in and recognizing that it might be sending you down a different direction for a reason, and then you can kind of follow that thread. I happen to be one of those people that thinks time is, wobbly.
Mhm.
And so I may need to see something a bunch of times. I may only need to see something once. I also believe very much in the power of three, and I utilize it in my spell work and things like that as well. But um, it's when your awareness catches it, and sometimes you need to be hit on the head with something. It might take 20 times for you to be like, oh, okay, hold on. I need to go look this up, and I need to see what this is all about. And it can be that one thing isn't really the significant thing. It's just bringing you to something else. So, for example, Shannon's talking about this course that she's taking may put her in awareness of a specific herb or a different person or another book or another course, or
Yeah.
Shannon will know it when it happens. And it could just be that she needed the piece of what this course was going to bring, right? It's all different for all of us. um, and I feel like those signs, as they're coming into you, it could be just a fleeting thing that you just needed someone, like, you needed to not be alone in the world for that moment. Like, that happens to me sometimes, where I'm going through just a really, really difficult part of my life. I'm having trouble getting through the day. Life is coming at me in a thousand different directions. I feel like I am in a void, whatever it is. And this small thing will happen. I have a lot of larger things that happen. The larger unexplainable kind of things. Dragonflies are a big thing with me. I know that I get a lot of messages in utilizing dragonflies in places where they're like, there's never dragonflies there. They don't live near there. There's no water around. And suddenly here's one hanging out attached to my window, that kind of thing. Um, Obviously, that's a big nod. I've had an entire case of hot sauce, the exact type, mini, teeny tiny hot sauces, the exact type that we had at my son's celebration of life, delivered to my office at work. Nobody knows how they got there. Nobody knows where they came from. They just magically showed up one day, an entire case of these little teeny tiny hot sauce. And those little tiny jars just started being picked up and distributed around by everybody that came in and out of the office. Oh, you have these little tiny hot sauce. It brought so much joy randomly, obviously to me, but to all of these people coming in just excited that there's hot sauce, little jars of hot sauce. So it can be the most random things, and it can be a hug that you feel where you just all of a sudden feel safe and warm and comforted. It can be a voice that you hear in your head. It can be an image that you see. It can be you turn on the TV and it's on a channel that it was never on before. You open up your computer and it goes to a web page you'd never seen before, but all of a sudden it's exactly what you needed. You could be, this one happens to me a lot. You're listening to a book or a podcast or whatever, and you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden your car decides it doesn't want to play that anymore. It wants to switch to the radio, but just for a second, so you can hear one line of a song and then back to the podcast or back to the book. It can be so many different things. It can be something when you're hiking and you see a random animal in your path. You walk outside and there's a crow outside, just hanging out, calling at you, maybe. The thing is when these things come in, even if at that moment you can't do anything about it, maybe you're walking into a meeting, maybe you just get a call that you have to take, whatever it is, keep a note of it, jot it down. If it's a specific number that came at you, if it's a specific sentence in the song, whatever that is, just make mental notes of it or physical notes of it if you can't remember, like me. And then later on, you can go back and you look that up. But I mean, Shannon and I are constantly doing okay, what does this number mean? What is this thing? What is this animal? What's this spirit animal? What's, that kind of thing. And usually it comes up and you're just like, oh, okay. And then it starts you down this path of thinking about something that has either happened or that's been weighing on you, and answering some questions maybe that you didn't have the answer to yet. So it's just a matter of seeing how those come in. And if you're somebody that this is new to you, there's so many woo-woo things out there that you can obviously jump into. You can visit our website, and there's some links and stuff on there as well if you want to kind of get involved. But there's so much out there for you to just gravitate towards what feels good. Don't question it. Don't examine it too closely. Just gravitate towards where your heart is taking you to go, because you're going to have to release a lot of shit that you are carrying with you that somebody else or something else put on you that is not yours.
Yeah.
Because we all have it.
Yeah. And as we start or continue that journey, the more that we release and we understand that this shit's not mine, or I needed to carry it for a while, but I'm not carrying it anymore. Then we become more open to those messages. We become lighter. It becomes easier to bounce back from, because we still have those days. And we talked about that in other podcasts. We still have those days where we just don't want to drag ourselves out of bed, but we have to. But I feel that the more work that we do and the more in tune we get, it's easier to bounce back. One of the things, like you were talking about different signs, I used to, when I worked in the Muggle world, I'm a semi-retired. I watch my grandkids, but, I don't really work in the Muggle world anymore. That I would constantly get feathers that would just show up, and they would be feathers of birds that weren't necessarily around that area. Like if I was extremely upset about or anxious or something, it would just be there at the car door. Even at my brother's funeral, I was the last car in the parking lot, and I opened my door, and right when I went to go step into the car, there was a feather there. And I was like, well, thanks, Alan. Thanks for letting me know you're okay. But when we moved into our house here 6 years ago, I just mentioned casually to my angels, like, hey, I haven't seen feathers in a while. Now it could have been I was still working in the mogul world or something, but I was I was in a good space because I was excited about our house and stuff. Not 5 minutes later, I go into the extra bedroom and my cat had caught in a bird and there were feathers all over the floor. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to
Be
ask for
careful
feathers.
what you ask for.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm not asking for feathers anymore. Now I have gotten a few, like I said, a few here and there, but it's not. So now I find hearts in all shapes. Like the other day, even there was an oil stained heart in the Walmart parking lot, and I noticed them. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just, I even have a picture that my son sent me when a couple years ago he was on a hunting trip. It was winter in Colorado, and he left his spaghetti out, and it had curled into a shape of a heart. Okay. And he sends this to me. This is like, Mom, I know you're thinking of me, or whatever.
Oh,
So, of course, I see heart rocks everywhere, and I mean, but
sure.
it could be wine heart stains. I mean, I see them everywhere. And of course I post them for everybody to see, and I'm like, you can't make this shit up when your ketchup
Yeah.
is a heart shape. It just happens. So, but I much prefer those than dead bird feathers everywhere. So
Yeah.
again, when I'm open to it and I'm doing the work, and even some of those, and it may not even be, I don't even think anymore that it's when I'm anxious or anything when they show up. It could be just the universe saying, you're doing great. Here's a heart
Yeah.
for you. We're sending you hearts, So that can be another thing too. It's just pay attention to yeah, again, what brings you joy. Is seeing a
Yep.
heart bring you joy, or just becoming, and as you become more aware, then it just continues. Yeah.
Yeah. Awareness and intention are pretty much in all the things. As you're going through life and you're noticing all of these things and you're questioning. If you're one of those people that you're questioning, or maybe you're trying to connect and you can't, you're being blocked, or um, I would challenge you to allow and not try. Right, like that's kind of what happened with Shannon with the feathers. Like, I
Yeah.
haven't seen feathers. Like, we need to get out of our own way in the way that we're interacting with something that has no explanation, because that's what we're talking about, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about things that have no, like, scientific proof that this is a reality. It's just, this is energy. We're talking about energy that is interacting in a way that science has yet to fully define, and maybe they will one day. But we're talking about how this energy manifests for ourselves, and how we take that in and then utilize that to live our lives now in a way that works for us. And
Yes.
that's really what it boils down to for you, is just find those allowances for yourself. Don't question yourself.
Mhm.
Trust yourself. Believe in that intuition that's in there, and just kind of allow the things to unfold rather than trying to make the things unfold. Just
Perfect.
ease into
That is beautiful. Perfect.
I don't know. Perfect is one of those. I don't think perfect exists, but I will take it. Thank you for that.
That was
And
very adequate.
it was very adequate. Yes, if you've been listening to us, you understand. Adequate is perfection.
Yes.
Yeah. And on that note, we want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Bring Joy Forward podcast. If you're enjoying us, we would appreciate any of those likes and saves and downloads and all the things that they tell us that you're supposed to do in order to help us reach more people. Because really, that's why we're doing this, is to reach more people out in the world and connect in a way that lets you know that you are not alone. You are magnificent, and we appreciate you. We're glad you're here. And we'll see you next time on the Bring Joy Forward podcast. You have been listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us at bringjoyforward.com, and we'd love to have you join us in our community Facebook group. Thank you for listening.